Well, joining us now is Robert Spitzer. He's a political science professor at the State University of New York at Cortland and author of 5 books on gun control. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good to speak with you.
Thank you. So President Biden says the country must do more on gun control. How likely will we see tougher laws, especially when any talk of that usually rouses gun rights groups citing the Constitution's Second Amendment?
Yeah, the Second Amendment is a rallying cry, but it is no legal obstacle to stronger laws, at least not the kinds of laws that are being discussed. This gives more impetus to President Biden to push ahead with some new executive orders, which he can do on his own. They don't have to go to Congress. The only limitation to executive orders is that they only apply to the executive branch and policymaking there. Nevertheless, he clearly can move ahead. Most significantly, he's talked about taking ghost guns away. These are guns that people can assemble from parts that do not have serial numbers and therefore are untraceable. So those would be strictly regulated. He's talked about a model red flag law is the kind of law that could be pertinent in cases like this of people who are homicidal or suicidal, where the government can take their guns away, and maybe think of some new executive orders and maybe put a little more pressure on Congress to act on the legislation already before them.
You know, Professor, this is such an ongoing, unresolved problem. We saw former President Obama failing to get Senate support back in 2013 for his gun control measures. Are we at a different time? Are there different gun politics at play nowadays?
There have been some small but significant changes. I think the public is ever more receptive to stronger gun laws. We do have a Congress right now that is nominally controlled by the Democratic Party. The Democrats, as a party, support stronger gun laws. The difficulty is that the margin in one house is a narrow one for the Democrats, and in the United States Senate, it is a tie that is broken by the Democratic vice president. So if a single Democrat defects, you've lost your majority. So the political calculus for Congress to act, and that's where major change has to come, is very, very precarious right now. It's possible that they could be pushed in the weeks and months ahead to act on legislation before them, but I wouldn't hold my breath even in the light of this new and terrible shooting.
Right. Now, is there a probable bipartisan way forward? I mean, how can you see both sides compromising on gun policy?
There are gun policy ideas that have bipartisan support, and a good example is these red flag laws that allow guns to be taken away from people who pose an immediate threat. 20 states have enacted those laws, including some fairly conservative states. One goal will be to try and get more state legislatures to do that. That is a measure before Congress. And I think you could build real bipartisan support around a measure like that. The difficulty is that the Republicans are so dug in and so opposed to any notion of bipartisanship that even though there are members and Republicans in Congress who would support that and other bipartisan limited gun control measures, the push on them, the force on them to stay in line and not make any kind of bipartisan deal with Democrats is very, very great. So the question is whether any crack in that wall can occur.
A hot button issue indeed. Robert Spitzer will have to leave it there. Thank you so much.